Apollo Control, Houston. We're about 1 minute away now from reacquiring Apollo 12. Apollo 12 now on its fifth revolution around the moon. The Apollo 12 crew will shortly be starting a rest period. We're at 91 hours 57 minutes and standing by for acquisition. This is Apollo Control, Houston.
Apollo 12, Houston.
Roger, Houston, 12, loud and clear.
Very good. We've got a couple questions for you. When did you activate the cryo fans?
When did we activate them? We haven't done it yet.
Okay, if you let us know, we can track the quantities a little bit better if we know that. Also, we're ready to terminate the battery B recharge.
Okay, we'll terminate battery B. Why don't we go ahead and cycle the fans for you now? We were going to wait till just before we were going to go to sleep, but we'll cycle them now for you.
Roger, thank you. Also, Dick, the boys in the back room are very well pleased with the P-22 tracking. They were impressed with the technique and the spacing. Also, your solution agrees to within 100th of a degree of the map position, so everybody's very pleased with that. Pete, when you go in the LEM tomorrow, the AG people would like you to check a series of locations in the e-memory just to check out that system. I've got a list of the locations and the expected parameters that we'd like to read you sometime before bedtime this evening. They'll rest better if you have them tonight.
Okay, this is due to what happened on launch. Is that what you're saying? You want to verify some memory?
That is affirmative. I've got the list whenever you want to copy. It's about a page of locations, about 25 or so.
Okay, Al's got his handful of food bags right now. Just a second and I'll copy him for him. Wait one.
Roger. We liked your idea of movies on the fantail so much that while you were running around behind the moon there this time, we replayed your last TV coverage for the boys down in the hangar deck. It was very nice.
Very good.
It looks a lot better on the big screen than it does on my home television set.
Well, tell you what, it looks a lot better from right here with the old eyeball, but we're doing as best we can for you.
I bet it does.
I wish we could bring some TV from the backside of the moon. I'm sort of more impressed with the backside of the moon as being prettier than I am with the front side.
You're making us feel envious.
I'm not sure that meets with complete agreement in the spacecraft.
I guess everyone has his favorite spot someplace.
Okay, I'll tell you what,
Go ahead.
I'm ready to copy those AGS addresses now.
Roger. Location 454. The value is plus 00700. Location 466 plus 00150. Location 506 plus 02400. Fiver 23 is plus all zeros. Fiver 27 plus 00500. Location 537 plus 00002. Location 560 plus all zeros. Location 561 plus 02436 plus location 564 minus 46314. Location 565 plus 40611. Location 566 plus 015 1. 601 minus 7, 5, 3, 4, 1. Location 602 plus all zeros. 622 plus 00062. Location 634 plus 00100. 654 minus 62655. Location 655 plus 03467. 657 plus 00015. Location 661 plus 00031. Location 662 plus 53603. 666 plus 04140. Location 672 plus 20053. That's the end of the list.
Okay, just a second, I'll read it back to you.
Roger.
Okay, address 454 plus 00700. Address 466 plus 00150. 506 plus 02400. 523 plus all zeros. 527 plus 00500. Address 537 plus 00002. Address 560 plus all zeros. 561 plus 02436. 564 minus 46314. Address 565 plus 40611. Address 566 plus 01531. 601 minus 75341. 602 plus all zeros. 622 plus 00062. 634 plus 00100. 654 minus 62655. 655 plus 03467. 657 plus 00015. 661 plus 00031. 662 plus 53603. 666 plus 04140. 672 plus 20053.
Roger on all of them.
Okay, we'll check those tomorrow.
Thank you. Hey, Al, on your TV broadcast, when you were commenting about mountains looking like clouds, were you aware that those mountains were in the sea of clouds?
Nope. I guess that's where it got its name, huh?
We thought you had planned a pun for us.
No, I wasn't smart enough for that.
Hey, listen, we've got one idea down here on the O2 consumption rate that we'd like to get your comments on. The suggestion was that last night, while you guys were asleep, the metabolic rates indicated that one of you was dreaming probably about scuba diving, and that we think you were dreaming about petting a moray eel, and in the hyperventilation you sucked up too much of the oxygen.
Okay, tell David that I'll go along with that one.
Roger.
I suspect that it's this urine device thing. We just have a habit of leaving it on to keep it flushed out. It doesn't flush out very well, so we've been leaving it on, and we usually don't bother to shut it down till the O2 high flow comes on or something, and that takes a while. But that probably doesn't account for all of it.
The practical people would be impressed with that. Most of us like the Moray-Eel theory better.
Okay, I'll go along with that.
Roger.
That's capsule communicator Don Lynn talking interchangeably with Pete Conrad and Al Bean. We're at 92 hours, 10 minutes now into the flight, and Apollo 12 presently shows an altitude of 65.4 nautical miles above the moon. It's at its point of Apollo at this time. It's Apollo Control Houston at 92 hours, 15 minutes now into the flight. For the past few minutes, we've had no contact with Apollo 12. We do expect Capcom Don Lynn to call them perhaps one or two more times before they bed down for the evening. Their rest period is scheduled to start on this revolution around the moon. Presently, we show an apolloon of 65.5 nautical miles and a paraloon of 54.7 nautical miles for Apollo 12. At 92 hours, 16 minutes, this is Apollo Control Houston.
Houston 12.
Go ahead.
We have one of the doctors look at my biomed and see if it's okay. I had to move one of the leads for some reason. It reacted on my skin, and it's all welled up into a bunch of blisters here, so I had to move it.
Roger, he reports that they're getting a good signal.
Okay, very good. I'm going back off the air.
Roger.
That last report from the spacecraft was Pete Conrad. We're at 92 hours, 26 minutes into the flight at this time. It's Apollo Control Houston, 92 hours, 38 minutes now into the flight of Apollo 12. We've had no communications with the Apollo 12 crew for the past several minutes. Their crew is preparing to start their rest period. We presently show Apollo 12 traveling at a velocity of 5,349 feet per second. Current altitude 59.6 nautical miles. Its orbital parameters 65.5 nautical miles for an apolloon and 54.7 nautical miles for a paraloon. So at 92 hours, 38 minutes, continuing to monitor. This is Apollo Control Houston. It's Apollo Control Houston at 92 hours, 50 minutes since liftoff. We do not plan to make a call to the spacecraft from this point on, and will only respond, of course, if they do call the Mission Control Center. We're some 20 minutes away from loss of signal. We will continue to monitor any conversation, should a conversation develop between the ground and the spacecraft. Presently, Apollo 12 is at an altitude of 56.5 nautical miles above the lunar surface. This is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston at 93 hours, 5 minutes now into the flight. We're less than 5 minutes away at this time from scheduled loss of signal. The Mission Control Center has not been contacted by Apollo 12 since our last report, nor do we expect to be. Presumably, the Apollo 12 crew has started their rest period which will be their last period of rest prior to the start of the very active phase of this mission. We're at 93 hours and 6 minutes and currently show Apollo 12 at 54.9 nautical miles above the lunar surface. And this is Apollo Control, Houston. It's Apollo Control, Houston. We're less than a minute away now from scheduled loss of signal as Apollo 12 will be passing above the far side of the moon. We're now at 93 hours, 9 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control, Houston. It's Apollo Control, Houston. We've had loss of signal with Apollo 12. We're now at 93 hours, 10 minutes into the flight. This is Apollo Control, Houston. We're now at 93 hours, 56 minutes into the flight of Apollo 12. We should be acquiring Apollo 12 momentarily. However, since the crew should have started their rest cycle, we're uncertain at this point as to whether or not we'll have any communications with them on this, the front side pass of the 6th revolution around the moon. However, we will leave the lineup in any case. We currently show orbital parameters of 65.2 nautical miles and 55.1 nautical miles. At 93 hours, 57 minutes into the flight, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston. We are receiving data at this time from the spacecraft. We're at 93 hours, 58 minutes into the flight. This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 94 hours, 19 minutes now into the flight. We've had no conversation with the Apollo 12 crew since we acquired them. We've still got 49 minutes of acquisition time on this front side pass. It's quite conjectural at this point as to whether or not we will have any contact with them. The Apollo 12 crew is presently in their period of rest. We now show a velocity for Apollo 12 as it circles the moon of 5,327 feet per second. Its apolloon now 65.2 nautical miles. Its paraloon now 55 nautical miles. At 94 hours, 20 minutes, continuing to monitor. This is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 94 hours, 38 minutes now into the flight of Apollo 12. We have approximately 31 more minutes of acquisition time on this front side pass of the 6th revolution around the moon. Thus far, we've had no communications contact with the crew, presently in their rest cycle. Following this shift change, we will have a change of shift briefing in the news center with Flight Director Pete Frank. We expect that to start at approximately 9:30. We're now 94 hours, 38 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control, Houston, at 94 hours, 56 minutes into the flight, Apollo 12. We presently show the Apollo 12 velocity at 5,370 feet per second. Its apoloon 64.8 nautical miles. Its paraloon 55.1 nautical miles. We have 11 minutes of time remaining before we lose signal with the spacecraft. As you have no doubt surmised by this time, we have not contacted the crew at all during this pass. They're in a rest period. They have not attempted to contact Mission Control Center from the spacecraft. We are, as a reminder, we are scheduled to have a change of shift news conference scheduled to start at 9:30 this morning, or shortly thereafter. We're at 94 hours 58 minutes into the flight, and this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control Houston. We're at 95 hours 5 minutes now into the flight. Some 3 minutes remaining of acquisition time on this pass. Meanwhile, in Mission Control Center Houston, we are undergoing a shift change. Glenn Lunny's team of black flight controllers are presently on the scene, and replacing the Pete Frank team of orange flight controllers. So at 95 hours 5 minutes into the flight, this is Apollo Control Houston.
This is Apollo Control. We've had loss of signal now as the spacecraft goes behind the moon. We're currently reading an altitude of 55.2 nautical miles. The spacecraft weight in orbit, 70,943 pounds. At 95 hours 9 minutes into the flight, this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control at 95 hours 24 minutes. We're now 29 minutes 43 seconds from reacquiring Apollo 12. The spacecraft at that time will be on its 7th revolution. We're scheduled to start the change of shift press conference momentarily in the small briefing auditorium in the Houston News Center. That press conference is scheduled to begin at this time. At 95 hours 25 minutes, this is Apollo Control Houston. This is Apollo Control at 95 hours 53 minutes. We're now one minute from reacquiring the spacecraft on the 7th revolution. In Mission Control, Flight Director Glenn Lunny's black team of flight controllers have settled down to watching the spacecraft systems during this scheduled 8.5-hour sleep period. We last heard from the crew at 93 hours into the mission, about 3 hours ago. We show an orbital period now of 1 hour 58 minutes 47 seconds. Our current orbital parameters are 65 nautical miles by 55.1 nautical miles. At 11 o'clock this morning, there's a briefing scheduled on the Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment package. That will be held in the main auditorium, the large auditorium of Building 1 in the Houston News Center. That's 11 a.m. this morning for the briefing on the Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment package. We'll continue to leave the air-to-ground circuits up live for any possible conversation with the spacecraft, although we don't anticipate any. We're reading a cabin temperature in the spacecraft right now of 65 degrees. Cabin pressure is holding steady at the nominal 5 pounds per square inch. At 95 hours 55 minutes, this is Apollo Control standing by. And our network controller reports that we have data from the spacecraft. This is Apollo Control at 96 hours 37 minutes. All continues quiet as the crew moves into their sleep period at about 3.5 hours now. The spacecraft is currently moving toward the Site 7, the point at which Apollo 12 is targeted to land. And at the present time we show an altitude of 59.1 nautical miles above the lunar surface. The ALSEP, Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment Package briefing, is scheduled to begin at 11 a.m. in the News Center auditorium, the main auditorium of the Houston News Center. That will be 11 a.m. this morning for the Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment Package briefing. At 96 hours 38 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 97 hours 3 minutes. We're now some 4 minutes from loss of signal of Apollo 12. The spacecraft currently on the 7th revolution of the moon. The crew is some 4 hours now into a scheduled 8.5-hour sleep period. Here in Mission Control, we have received word from the Solar Particle Alert Network that they have observed a moderate solar flare. This apparently is the same solar flare that we watched on the 2nd of November. The flare has now rotated around and is coming back into the field of view. Based on the previous information that we had from this flare, we would not expect it to be a problem. The particle event associated with it were quite low, and from our previous information, we would not expect to get a significant level of radiation to the crew. We will, however, be monitoring the particles coming from the flare over the next few hours, determining the types of radiation levels we can expect both inside the spacecraft and outside the spacecraft, and evaluating this in terms of any possible impact on the mission. To repeat, the classification that we have of the flare at this time based on optical data is that it is a moderate flare, and we would not expect it to be a problem. At 97 hours 4 minutes into the mission, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control at 97 hours 11 minutes. We've had loss of signal now. The spacecraft orbit is currently reading 64.8 by 55.3. We'll reacquire in 42 minutes. We would expect the crew to continue in their sleep period. Well, we don't expect to have any conversation from them until the scheduled 8.5-hour rest period is concluded. At 97 hours 11 minutes, this is Apollo Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 97 hours 52 minutes. We are about 1 minute now from reacquiring Apollo 12, the spacecraft on its 8th revolution of the moon. And the crew now some 5 hours into their scheduled 8.5-hour rest period. We will continue to leave the circuit open should we receive any calls from the crew, although we do not anticipate hearing from them during the rest period. Apollo 12's current orbit is 64.7 by 55.6. We show an altitude at this time of 64.1 nautical miles. We're standing by now for reacquisition in about 15 seconds. And our network controller reports that we have acquisition of signal now.
Houston, Apollo 12.
Apollo 12, Houston, go ahead.
Roger, got a couple of quick questions for you. One, we seem to be firing a little more RCS. There seems to be a little more RCS thruster activity around the moon than we had imagined. Is Control satisfied with our propellant usage right now and the number of firings? That's one. Two, I've been getting a little stuffy in the head. In fact, it's been that way since launch. And even though I don't have a cold or anything, my ears are sometimes clear and sometimes they're not. I took a decongestant pill about several hours ago. And in order to be sure that my ears are good and clear tomorrow for the all the limb activity in the EVA, how often should I take one of those pills to get the maximum effectiveness from it?
Roger, we'll check on both of those.
Go ahead.
The surgeon recommends that we take one of those every 8 hours. So 8 hours after you took the first one, we recommend another one, and it should be just about time to take one more just before the EVA. So that's the recommendation. Also, we're interested in getting biomed, and we're wondering if you can turn on Pete's biomed. If it's just a question of throwing a switch, we're not getting any biomed from him, and we don't know why. Don't wake him up, but we wondered if you could get us some biomed from him easily.
No, he's down in his sleep station, and it makes it a bit uncomfortable to get the biomed down to there, so he's not even connected to it. That's why you're not getting it from Pete at all. The only person you've been getting it from is Dick.
Roger, we didn't get any for a long time there. Okay, and on the thrusters, they look good. We're checking further, but to first approximation, things look fine.
Sounds good. I'm going to head back to sleep, Houston. So the only person you'll have biomed on is Dick, I guess.
Roger, thank you. Hope your nose clears up.
This is Apollo Control. That was Lunar Module Pilot Al Bean reporting some stuffiness. He said he did not think he had a cold and advised that he had taken a decongestant pill several hours ago. The flight surgeon recommended that he take another pill approximately 8 hours after taking the first, and then one more just before beginning the lunar landing portion of the mission. Al also questioned us on the propellant usage. He noted that the RCS thrusters seem to be firing regularly in lunar orbit, and as you heard, the advice from Capcom Don Lind was that everything looks good with the RCS thrusters and with the propellant usage. Now, this is Apollo Control at 98 hours 26 minutes. We have continued to monitor that solar flare that we reported to you on the last revolution. We have gotten a report from the radiation support room here in Mission Control that the flare would now appear to be classified as a relatively small one. We've also gotten several other positive indications. One we would have expected by this time had there been any significant high-energy particles to begin receiving some of these at the spacecraft sensors. At the present time, we've seen no indication of any particle radiation in the area of the spacecraft based on onboard instrumentation. Also, we've seen no change in the radiation levels being monitored by the ATS-1 satellite, which is in a synchronous orbit about the Earth, and also no increase in radiation measured by Explorer 41, which is in a high elliptical orbit around Earth that takes it about a third of the way out to the Moon. A short while ago, we had a call from the spacecraft, as you heard. Lunar Module Pilot Al Bean called down at 97 hours 55 minutes and reported that he had observed a regular thruster firing and asked us to check the status to see if the spacecraft was perhaps consuming more RCS propellant than would be desired. After reviewing the propellant status and the number of thruster firings, flight controllers reported that all is normal, just about what we would expect, and the propellant usage is about what we would expect. Bean also advised that he had some stuffiness, some head stuffiness, nasal congestion. He said he had taken a decongestant pill several hours ago and requested that we provide him with a schedule for continuing to take decongestants up to the lunar landing. The flight surgeon recommended that he take an additional decongestant tablet approximately 8 hours after taking the first one, and take another one then just before beginning the powered descent. At 98 hours 28 minutes, this is Apollo Control. This is Apollo Control at 99 hours 5 minutes. We have had loss of signal now. The spacecraft on the 8th revolution of the moon, and the crew is about 2 hours now from the end of their scheduled 8.5-hour sleep period. During this LOS period, we plan to play back the tape recording of the Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment Package briefing, which was held this morning in the Houston News Center. We understand the tape runs about 30 minutes. We expect this LOS period to last for something on the order of 45 minutes. We'll play back that tape of the ALSEP briefing for you now. This is Apollo Control at 99 hours 52 minutes. We've had acquisition of signal from the spacecraft, now in its 9th revolution of the moon. We expect the crew will remain sleeping through the major portion of this revolution. They're scheduled to awake at 101 hours, which is a little more than 1 hour from now. At the present time, Apollo 12 is at an altitude of 64 nautical miles above the lunar surface. We show the orbit to be 55.9 nautical miles by 64.4 at the present time. We'll continue to stand by for any conversation from the crew, but as I said, we don't expect anything probably for about another hour. This is Apollo Control at 100 hours 41 minutes. We have a little more than 22 minutes now before loss of signal with the spacecraft. A few minutes prior to LOS, if we have not heard from the crew, we plan to wake them up. The crew will then have breakfast. The lunar module pilot and commander, Al Bean and Pete Conrad, will begin putting on their pressure garments. And about the middle of the 11th revolution, they're scheduled to enter the LEM, begin powering up and checking out in preparation for the lunar landing. All spacecraft systems have continued to function normally during the 8-hour sleep period. Several hours ago, Al Bean came on the line to advise that he had a bit of nasal congestion in the head, and had taken a decongestant tablet and planned to continue taking them up to the beginning of the powered descent. Bean also checked on propellant consumption, RCS propellant consumption at that time. He reported that he had noted regular firing of the RCS thrusters and wanted to check to see that everything was normal. We advised him that it was, that the thrusters were firing about as often as we would expect, and the propellant consumption was about nominal. At 100 hours 43 minutes, this is Apollo Control, and we'll be standing by for the awakening of the crew. This is Apollo Control at 100 hours 54 minutes. Capcom Don Lind is preparing to put in a call to the crew shortly. We'll stand by for that.
Apollo 12, Houston, good morning. Apollo 12, Houston, good morning. Apollo 12, this is Houston, over. Apollo 12, Houston, good morning. Apollo 12, this is Houston, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Houston, this is 12.
Good morning, gentlemen. Today's the big day. Hit the deck.
Right here, we've been there for a while.
Very good. We've got a couple of items for you when you get your eyes wide open.
Okay, I'm ready to copy.
Question about your biomedical sensor that you reported moving the other day. Is it still holding in position?
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that this morning. Go ahead with the rest of the questions, then I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, that was one of them. One of the other items was that while you were sleeping, we had a Class 2 flare reported on the sun. We watched it very carefully in your behalf, and we get no particles coming out of it in the vicinity of the Earth. So we exercised the system, but there's nothing to report coming your way. The surgeon is recommending.
Okay.
The surgeon is recommending that we change your biomedical sensor, but what do you have to say about it first?
Well, I've already moved the sensor, and I'm developing a little bit of a problem with all of them. I've never had this problem before, but something in that goo is allergic. My skin's allergic to it, I guess. And I finally had to move the upper one because it broke out underneath it, and I guess I was weeping plasma or something, and it finally started weeping over the side. It's been bothering me for the last couple of days. Now all of them are in the same category, and I don't want to move them. I move them and get this stuff out in the open. I tend to it tends to break out even worse. Now one on my chest is pretty bad, and I moved that one. So what I propose to y'all is that I'm going to leave them just the way they are until we get all the way through the EVAs and I get back up here, and then I want to take them off.
Apollo 12, would you go manual on the high gain? We're losing your signal. Apollo 12, please go manual on the high gain. We're losing your signal. Apollo 12, Houston.
Okay, Houston, I'm on Omni-B. How's that?
Roger, much better. We lost most of your transmission about your biomed sensors, Pete. You had said that you'd been having trouble for a day or so on that. What was the last half of that message?
Okay, what the problem is for some reason it's making me break out. It looks like I got poison ivy under those things, and they're weeping plasma or whatever you weep. And the one I moved is the one on the top of my chest, and it's all broken out up there. Now I don't want to take the rest of them off because I'm afraid what I'm going to find underneath. So what I propose to do is continue the way they are. And when we get done the EVAs down there, I want to get rid of them. They're driving me buggy.
Roger, we're going to talk that one over for a second. We're about 2 minutes from LOS. Just in case we should lose you a little bit early, we expect to pick you up again at 101 plus 49er.
Roger. Okay, I've already moved that one, and my skin's in pretty bad shape underneath it. It's still weeping whenever you weep plasma, I guess. And I don't want to move the other ones.
Roger, just a question on that. When you moved it, did you put on a new seal, a new jelly?
That's affirmative.
Very good.
I think we're getting ready to lose you here, Houston. We'll see on the other side at 101.49.
Roger. Apollo 12, we'll see you on the other side.
Roger, roger.
This is Apollo Control at 101 hours 4 minutes. We've had loss of signal now from the spacecraft. We'll reacquire again at 101 hours 49 minutes, a little more than 45 minutes from now. That time the spacecraft will be in its 10th revolution of the moon. During that exchange with the crew, Pete Conrad reported that one of the biomedical sensors attached to his chest had been giving him trouble. As you heard, he said that apparently there was some sort of allergic reaction to the jelly that's used to attach the sensor, and he had broken out underneath it. We're evaluating the situation with respect to the sensors at the present time and plan to have some sort of recommendation to pass up to Conrad when we reacquire. At 101 hours 5 minutes, this is Mission Control, Houston.